Hello, Home Inspector. Mike Crow's next Home Inspector Mastermind meeting is coming up soon, and you are invited. Join Mike Crow, the father of Home Inspector Marketing, along with Davey Tyberski, America's Chief Profit Officer, for this gathering of some of the most successful minds in the home inspection industry. During this meeting, you'll discover how to increase your home inspection revenue, improve your cash flow, and boost your bottom line. Plus, this meeting is 100% absolutely guaranteed, so you have nothing to lose. Take advantage of this opportunity now and find out more at coachblueprint.com/invite. That's coachblueprint.com/invite. And now, here's Mike.
Hi, this is Mike Crow, and I run a home inspection business. In fact, I've run a couple of home inspection businesses. The true joy for me, though, has been helping literally thousands of home inspectors build really solid home inspection businesses as well. We can help a single-man operation be able to do over $300,000 a year, maybe all the way up to $400,000 a year as a single inspector operation. Even better for me is the 80-plus companies that we have helped be able to build million-dollar home inspection businesses. I would like to help you be able to do the same thing. Here's one of the things my dad taught me. I mentioned, by the way, my dad taught me a lot of good stuff. He was tough. He was a tough old boy, okay? He still is. Yeah, he did teach me how to play dominoes, by the way, so I'm pretty good at dominoes most of the time. Here's one of the things my dad taught me about inspections. Country boy English versus technical terms. So most people want to talk about, and for instance, let me ask you a question. How many of you inspectors out there understand what an evaporative coil is? Can you show me your hands? Okay, great. How many of you understand what the conducive coil is? Can you show me your hand? Fabulous. Now, let me go ask 100 clients that are buying a house if they know what an evaporative coil is. How many do you think are going to know? It's less than 10%, I'll tell you that. How many of them do you think know what a condenser coil is? Okay? So we don't use those terms in my report. We use, are you ready for this? Real technical terms here. We use outside AC unit and inside AC unit. Do you think that they know what that is? Yes, they do. And so we don't have to get into the technical terms. What we have to help them understand is how to say it to a client so they go, oh, okay, great. All right? And I'm going to, as we go into magic words, I'm going to teach you some other pieces of that you want to stay away from. All right. There's a lot of other little pieces to this. So the next part is I get asked often, and by the way, because I'm talking about report writing, people think I sell software. Nope. Well, which software do you like the most? Mine. Okay? Well, what software do you use? Mine. Okay? Now you have to understand, I started doing computerized reports. I want you to hear about this for a second. I started doing computerized reports in 1988. Some of you weren't even born yet, okay? I'm just saying, all right? The weird thing about that is that people go, well, what report writing system was around then? None. So what I did was I used a shareware program called PC Write, okay? Which was a word processing document. And to create that form, we literally had to use dashes and like L's to create lines inside the report because there was no setup to do that. And by the way, my original report, 2 pages long. Now it was legal size, so maybe that makes all the difference in the world. But 2 pages long instead of, my son told me just recently 18 pages is kind of where our reports are now. All right. My report used to be 15 pages, but when the state gets involved, and they get more involved every day, we just keep having to add items, all right? So what software should you use? I don't care. Here's the big thing is, it needs to be simple, and it needs to help you be able to get the report out as quickly as possible. And here's the thing is, most of you are super intelligent. I ask people sometimes when I hear them talk, I go, are you an engineer? Okay? I mean that as a compliment because, man, engineers are super smart. Here's the problem with engineers, though. They think everybody else is super smart. Well, that's not really true, but they think other people should be super smart, okay? And then what happens is they use big technical terms, they use a complicated report, and then when they go to hire their first inspector and they start trying to teach him how to do their report, they can't because it's too complicated. When I started building my report, and I eventually built it in PC Write, and then I eventually built it into Microsoft Word, because I was waiting to see if Word Perfect And I said that the other day, and somebody said, what? That's exactly why. So, but I was waiting for WordPerfect or Microsoft Word to win the word war, word processing. When Microsoft Word won that, then I built our report into that. And so our report's basically a Microsoft Word document. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. But I also built it simple because I was hiring gentlemen that had never learned how to type. Most guys never learned how to type. Now, I'm one of these weird guys that I'm a futurist. I have this weird ability to see 20 years in the future. I'm in high school and I went, I should learn how to type. It's going to be important. I didn't know why. I thought it was because I was going to type up my reports for college, right? And which is funny because I hired this amazing lady who changed my spelling and fixed my grammar and all this and typed my reports, and she charged me like $1 a page, and I was like, hallelujah, I'm in, okay? Saved me more time and aggravation than I could possibly imagine. But my typing skills still came into play as I was building and as computers were coming around. As I got into college, computers were everywhere. Okay? Well, at least at college they were. Not at people's homes yet, all right? But that was one of those things. So here's the thing is, I don't care what software you use. You need to keep it simple and pretty straightforward. Here's the other thing is, next question I got was, well, what hardware should I use? Now, what hardware do you think was available in 1988? Anybody remember what was called 386s? The computer was a 386, okay? And by the way, they came out with a 486. It is all the computer you'll ever need, okay? So our first computers were 386s, and we literally had a full-size computer. Remember those deep screens, CRTs, I think we called them? When we set the box computer down, we set the CRT on top. We literally strapped that into a Dodge Caravan, and we did our reports off of that onto an HP dot matrix printer that could go through 4 different pieces of carbon so we could print onto the paper, you know, for everybody. And then we would tear it all apart, pull the carbon paper out, and then hand the reports to people. That's what we did in 1988. Nowadays, it's so much easier, right? I will tell you that we do a lot of great things with that, and I look forward to sharing more about that with you. But I don't care what hardware you use. I remember telling people, I held up my mobile phone at the time. I said, you watch. People are going to be doing their inspection report off of devices like this. And everybody's sitting there going, no. Okay? Next year, I came back to speak to the same association. A young man, gotta love young people, came up to me and said, hey, I want to show you our inspection report on his phone. Okay? And he had done that. And now everybody thinks, oh, inspection report on your phone? No big deal. Here's one of the things I want you to understand. Technology, as it changes, can help make or break your business. If you accept it, if you enjoy it, if you embrace it, then you're going to be able to do great things. So I'm going to tell you the next big thing I'm telling people that, and people have never understood me 100%. I told them Yellow Pages at one point was going to be a farce and was going to be long gone, and everybody thought I was crazy. So we stopped doing Yellow Pages, and I created what I call Big Bang Marketing to help people move forward. And it cost me about the same, but it was like 10 times more effective, okay? And then computers came along, and we put our first computerized report together in 8/8 of 88. I remember because it was all 8s, right? Thank God it was not all 6s, right? Okay, so anyway. But the bottom line is that in 88, less than 10% of people had a personalized computer at home. And we not only had one, but we had it strapped in a vehicle delivering reports on site. Everybody loved that. Do you want to know what the next big technological change is? And I've only started sharing this recently. And if you're seeing this and it goes, oh, of course, duh, then trust me, this is probably years after I've done this recording. The next one is going to be AI. So I remember in high school when calculators came into place, it was so fun because my wife was 1 year ahead of me in high school. I was 1 year behind her. She did slide rule. Most of you don't even know what a slide rule is, especially the younger people, okay? You know what a slide rule was? No. See, he doesn't even know what a slide rule is because he's so young, right? You and I do, Ron, because we were there. I never learned how to use one. I mean, I actually played with one a little bit, but I went, why would I do that when I have a calculator, right? And it's more accurate, and you know, it's less guessing and all of that. Calculators became big. I tell you that story because here's what I want you to understand. AI is the brain calculator of the future. It's the brain calculator. That was a number calculator. This is a brain calculator. And you're going to see this really come into our world more and more as we're moving forward. And I will tell you, one of the cool things is we're teaching real estate agents how to use it. We're teaching inspectors how to use it. We're teaching a number of people how to put AI into their business. And it's literally changing businesses left and right. So staying ahead of that technological curve can be very important. So what hardware? You know, whatever's the easiest for you. We're using laptop computers still today because it's easy, they're fast, they're cheap. They didn't used to be cheap, but they're cheap now, and so we can turn them around. How long should my report be? One of the questions I got. How long should my report be? And it's a good question, so here's a very simple answer. It should be long enough to make sure that I tell them everything important, and short enough that you don't lose my attention, okay? My son had a joke from high school. He thought it was a new joke. Turns out this joke has been around since I was a young person, right? And somebody said in class, it said, how long should my essay be to the professor? And he said, long enough to cover the subject, short enough to keep my attention, like a lady's miniskirt. And I went, oh my gosh, okay? But you know, that joke's been around for years. It's kind of the same thing. The only reason I say that crude joke is because I want you to remember that most inspectors make their reports way too long. And you lose everybody's attention, and nobody wants to follow into that. How much information is too much, and how much is too little in a report? It's too much. For one, if it's not in the standards of practice, it gets to that point where it probably is too long or too much, okay? But then when is it too little? It's too little for me when I get 3 or more phone calls in 1 month going, hey, you missed something. So I'll give you an example of this, and I'll talk about this later, but I'm going to give you this example right now because most people get it wrong, so don't raise your hands to this question, all right? I write up one of these, but I do not write up the other one. So let's say a ceiling fan is there and it wobbles, okay? Or there is a chunk missing in the porcelain or whatever you want to call it, the finish for the bathtub. One of these I write up, and one of them I don't write up. So just think for yourself, which one do I write up? The ceiling fan or the bathtub? The reason I ask everybody not to answer this question is because 80+% of inspectors get it wrong. 80% of them said, oh, you write up the bathtub. No, never. It's a cosmetic issue. And they go, oh, no, it's not. Look, unless you've done 10,000 inspections, I'm not going there, okay? Unless you have 6 inspectors, I'm not going there. I've never had anybody call me and go, why didn't you write that up? Now, partially because I teach our inspectors how to have a conversation with the buyer during that inspection, so they understand it's a cosmetic issue. But the phone calls I've got over stupid ceiling fans doing this, I can't even begin to tell you, and it drove me nuts. I still remember to this day one vivid conversation. The phone rings, you answer it, and they go, yeah, Mr. Crow, you did an inspection for us, 2 weeks ago? Yep. You already don't like this conversation, by the way, right? Yep. And they go, well, I just need to let you know you missed something. All right, well, tell me more. Well, I just want you to understand how drastic this is affecting my life. Okay, this is the conversation I'm having with somebody, right? And I just want you to know, I go to bed at night and I can't sleep because of this problem. I'm listening. I'm laying there and all I can hear is ding, 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 ding. And then immediately I figure out what he's talking about, right? And I go, so you're telling me that the chain on your ceiling fan is hitting the light cover? And he went, yes. And I went, and this is keeping you up at night? Yes. So you wish we would have written this up? Yes. I wouldn't have bought the house if you ever heard that? And you're thinking, you got to be out of your ever-loving mind, right? And I have been up for 3 nights because turn the fan off, okay? Take the chain off, cut it, hang it up differently. But after you've gotten 3 of those phone calls, you go, there's a problem here. So we write it up. When ceiling fans wobble, it goes on the report, all right? And by the way, here's a cool thing is, if you can fix something simple like that or tell them how to fix something simple like that, great. They love you, but it stops Stops those crazy phone calls. So how much information is too much? How much is too little? Okay? So if I got 3 phone calls in a month, it's too little. And I put that in the reports, right? One of the things was I also tried to figure out if my inspectors were doing certain things during an inspection. So let me ask you, any standards of practice require you to put down the filter size for the heating and air conditioning? No, doesn't. It's not a requirement, right? How often should it be changed though? And if it's dirty, does that indicate to you that maybe there could be a problem with the unit? And the answer is yes, yes, and yes. So I started requiring my inspectors to put the size of the filter down on the inspection report and where it was. That way I knew as a manager that they looked at it. Do you know the funniest thing was? I was doing an inspection one day and I searched that house for an hour looking for the filter. They had redone the house and there was no air intake into that heating and air conditioning unit. There was no filter for the unit. You know how you have air coming out? Great, so I'm getting air out and it's kind of cool and everything, but there's no air going back into that unit anywhere, all right? So sometimes you put things on the report to help make sure that you're seeing things too. All right, so here's the next question I want to, this one breaks my heart a little bit. Mike, how long should it take to write a report? That's a great question, okay? And a lot of times it depends on the size of the house and how bad a condition the house is in or how good a condition the house is in, right? But how long should it take to write a report? A normal report. And when I tell people 45 minutes to an hour, they're like, what? No, no way, right? They think it should take a lot longer. And by the way, part of the reason they think it should take a lot longer is because they're thinking about it and they're thinking about it and they're thinking about it, okay? We teach and set our reports up in such a way so that we're thinking about it while we're at the inspection and we get the answers we need. So by the time we get to the report, it's like, oh, put this key phrase in. By the way, all the great software out there now has what they call canned phrases or macro keys or whatever you want to call them. We call them macro keys in the old days, and so some people still call that. Some people call them canned statements and other things like that. But here's the cool thing is, in our report, because it's a Microsoft Word, we type in 3 buttons and hit enter, okay? And poof, it puts in the note for us. And it speeds everything up. So it makes it a little easier when you can do it that direction, all right? We talked about which kind of software, which kind of hardware, how long should the report be, how long should it take you to write a report. All of those are important factors that you need to keep in mind, all right? Next question. Should I do repair estimates or not? Now, weird thing was, I had a focus group of real estate agents all come together and I asked them this 25 years ago. And all of them told me, I think there were 2 exceptions, but all of them told me, absolutely not. Stay out of my business, okay? If you want to give estimates, now you've completely messed up my game because I have people that can give me estimates. You know, like my dad likes to say, in the day of the wooden ships and the iron men, okay? In the day of the wooden houses and the iron real estate agents, okay? They knew what they were doing, they got it right. But as more and more agents have come into place, especially with newer agents, a lot of times they go, yeah, I'd love to have estimates, all right? So it's been very tricky, and there are a couple of places out there where you can get repair estimates done, and we do offer it to the real estate agents, and we do offer it online if the buyer wants it. However, we try to let them know that their agent is probably able to give them better estimates or as good estimates as we are. But it's here if they need it, okay? Next, how do I handle cosmetic issues? Cosmetic issues are fun. This is one more place where my dad taught me something very, very important. One of the questions my dad said was, the answer is always yes when a client asks you for something. When a client asks you for something, the answer is always yes. Then my dad would follow it up with this caveat, but it doesn't have to be for free. Okay? Now we just have to figure out how much it's worth to them. There's another way of doing this with the cosmetic issues. I'm in the living room, right? And the wallpaper is pulling off of one corner and the buyer is saying, my client is saying, I want that in the report, please. And the answer is yes. But here's the way you say that. You know, I'll be more than happy to put that in the report for you, I just need to explain to you how that's going to affect your report. When the agent gets it, she's going to look at it and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe he wrote that up, right? And then when your agent sends that to the other agent, they're going to go, see, look at how picky this inspector was because he wrote up a cosmetic issue like wallpaper, okay? And the report is really supposed to be structural and mechanical issues. And so what happens then is that the agent goes, well, if he wrote up wallpaper, then here when he says this about heating and air conditioning, then it's probably not as serious as he makes it sound either. And so by having that in there, it gets this discounted. My suggestion would be is that you write up these cosmetic issues, and the truth is there are going to be a lot of cosmetic issues, like the bathtub. Remember we talked about the bathtub that had that's a cosmetic issue. Won't be in my report, but feel free to write it down and talk to your agent about it, and have that discussion with them. Now, if you really want me to put it in the report, I will. It's just, I recommend that we don't because of that factors. So what would you like to do? So I will tell you 1 out of 10, 1 out of 100 will go, no, I want that in the report. Great. Write this down. This is important. Wallpaper is pulling away from the living room wall, noted per buyer's request. Because now when the agent sees it, they go, oh yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, they're a handful, okay? And I understand they requested that, okay? And then when it goes from this agent to the next agent, they go, oh, they got him too, okay? Because they understand it wasn't me, it was them, okay? So I'm writing up a cosmetic issue because they demanded it be in the report. And the answer is yes. If a buyer demands that I put an item like that in the report, I'm going to put it in the report, okay? But I'm going to continually point out to them that's the cosmetic issues. I have literally had buyers where I have literally added a subtitle called cosmetic issues and listed 6 items because that person just had to have that stuff in the report that doesn't belong in any good home inspection report, okay? Here's the other thing is, and notice how I worded this question. Should I mention positives? Should I mention positives? You know, and some people like to say they like to clean it up a little more. Should I mention positives in my report? The answer to the second part is no. Do not put positives in your report. However, should I mention positives? Now I'm going to give you a secret. This is a big one. Write this one down. You should say at least 5 positive things about every home you inspect. And by the way, you should also use their name 5 times at least in every inspection. And if you're saying Mr. Smith, then you say Mr. Smith 5 times. If you're saying James, hey James, I want to show you something, you want to say James 5 times. But you need to list at least 5 things, not list, you want to say verbally 5 things that makes them feel, wow, this is a good home. And by the way, I've watched a couple of inspectors a long time ago get sued out of business because they put in there, this home is above normal building standards. That's all they said. And they got themselves sued out of business because it turned out something in that house was not, okay? And even though the house overall was, it bit them, okay? And then no E&O company wants to talk to the guys that are putting stuff like that in the report. Can I give you my favorite? Here's my favorite. I love standing at the kitchen sink, right? I love standing at the kitchen sink. And I love the fact that hopefully, and it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it happens, the agent and the buyer are over here having a conversation, right? And I'm standing at the kitchen sink and I'm filling the kitchen sink up with water and I look up and I go, wow. And then I look at them. 1 is I want to know if I got their attention. 2, I want to make sure I got their attention, okay? And they look at me and I go, oh, I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? I was just standing here and I'm looking outside and I'm looking at this backyard and this is amazing backyard. Women love backyards and they love being able to look out the window and see the kids play in the backyard. Even at my house, my wife stood at the kitchen sink and she had to look sideways, but she could look all the way outside and she could see the kids outside, okay, for the most part. And by the way, now we have a patio and we've enclosed it completely so we can sit there and we can see the kids playing in the swimming pool while we're sitting in air conditioning, okay, and watch the kids play out there. It's just something built into the ladies that they just want to be able to see that. And by the way, sometimes us as dads want to be able to see our kids out there and make sure that they're being safe as well, all right? But I will tell you, by saying that, both their hearts just melt. Aw, yeah, no, that's one of the things I love about this house is I can see out in the backyard. Did I put myself in any danger whatsoever by saying that during the inspection? Absolutely not. There's nothing in there that would get me in trouble, okay? So here's some of the other things that I love. And by the way, I went through this with a group of inspectors that I was coaching for a while, and we came up with a list of 40 different things that you could say as a positive during that. So for instance, if you have a masonry fireplace versus a metal insert, man, you mentioned that. By the way, just be careful that you mention it and try not to cut the metal inserts down because if you're in a big house, I guarantee you they got a masonry and a metal insert, okay? If they have 2 water heaters or an extra size bigger water heater, make sure you mention that, right? People love that. Just don't be the stupid inspector. God, one of the things when I'm training inspectors that I have to try to tell them is don't say anything while I'm training you, right? An inspector from the top stairs says, hey, Mike, and he looks around, he doesn't see anybody. Hey, Mike, I've only seen 1 water heater. Have you seen another one yet? I would have expected 2 water heaters in this home. The buyer and the agent walk around the corner, and the buyer's going, are you telling me there's only 1 water heater in this house? And I'm sitting there going, oh. Okay? And then we went and looked at the water heater. First off, it's gas. First off, it's, I don't remember if it was 40 or 50 gallons, but gas recovers quicker. And I had to explain all of that to him. I had to explain to him that that size house, that's normal, okay? I should not have had to explain any of that. But I had to because an inspector said something negative during an inspection. You want to say something positive. Oh, I love the fact that your house has gas. You know, it's going to help save you some money. And honestly, water heaters and everything will regen quicker because they're that. By the way, here's an interesting thing. I own a home that has gas heating and has electric water heater. So don't assume just because you have gas that you have a gas water heater, all right? Because now you've stepped into, oh, I love gas water heaters so much more. Sorry to say you have electric one though, okay? Don't do that. But here's the thing is say 5 positive things during every inspection, all right? So a couple other things here real quick I want to get into. I want to get into some of the questions that you know should be answered. By the way, I love inspectors that always want to help people, right? So one inspector says, Mike, you need to make sure you tell everybody, he's trying to tell me this, right? And you need to tell everybody that when they do an inspection, they should put this in their report. And what he wanted me to do was something completely different than what I have on the screen. So I'll come to that in a second. How about that for assaulting? I'll come to that in a minute, all right? And tell you what he wanted me to tell everybody. But here's the other one. Can I just email the report or do I need to make a hard copy as well? And I'm going to tell you, it depends where you live. Strangest thing happened. 2009, my mom died, right? And she lives in Oklahoma. My dad and her lived up in Oklahoma on 50 acres of land up there. And I went up there and it was a very challenging situation. And my dad was saying, here, just call everybody and let them know when the funeral is and everything. So I started calling people, right? And I'm going through the list and I'm thinking, okay, not a problem. I'll put a group email together so I can send everybody the group email and let them know when the funeral services would be and memorial services and all this other stuff. I got through about 10 phone calls and only 2 people had email addresses. Oh, I don't have an email address. Oh, I don't have an email address. Now, this is kind of shocking because my dad was always on the curve of technological stuff. And so I'm thinking, come on, guys, it's 2009. Who does not have an email address, right? And so that's what we think. And by the way, I was a little younger back then. So I was just, what the hell, right? And so I'm thinking, do you want me to email the report to you or would you like me to print you a copy? That's what went through my mind at some point. What do you think they wanted, right? They wanted a printed copy, all right? Now, you go to the valley of technology in California and you start printing off a report, they go, what the hell? Why would you kill trees like that? And they're all green, and they're all upset because you're using paper that you don't need to be using. Boy, they would have hated my reports that had 4 parts thick and, and carbon paper and all kinds of, they would have hated that, okay? And so a lot of times it depends on where you live. And in that situation, probably just email the report. Now, I live in Texas, and I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So let me ask you, in my area, do we do email reports or do we print them? Who knows what the answer really should be? Both. That's the answer. Both. So here's the thing is if they tell me I don't need a printed copy of that, just email it to me, I'm okay with that. But if they don't ask, and I don't ask them because I get weird answers when I ask weird questions, right? I do both. By the way, I want you to know we've emailed this report to you, and I'm going to be printing it off here in just a second, so you'll have a printed copy as well. And if they go, oh, no, I don't need a printed copy, great. But they said that, not me. I don't ask. I do both, okay? And it's the million-dollar question, right? So I had a coach one time, very arrogant coach, very hard knocks coach, and he asked me one time, and we were talking about financial stuff, and he asked me one time, he went, Mike, do you want more money in your wallet or do you want more money in the bank? And he's like staring me down. I'm going, dude, and I gave him an answer, right? Wrong. So I gave him the other answer, right? Wrong. And I'm going, dude, what is your problem? And he said, the answer is both. I want to make sure you guys hear this because this applies to so many places in life. Now, I will tell you one time I was buying cars to give away at my shows, right? And I took somebody with me and I said, I can't decide on whether I should get the Jeep or whether I should get the convertible. And I said, what do you think? And he went, duh. And I went, what do you mean? He went, both. I went, okay, so we bought both, okay? And it was a great story, right? And it was one of those things that my wife went, really? You had to buy both? What were you doing, proving a point? Yeah, as a matter of fact, okay? But here's the thing is, can I just email a report or do I need to make a hard copy as well? It really depends on where you live. My suggestion would do both. Let them know you're getting ready to print a copy so they can verbally object if they want to, okay? All right, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Here's the next one. This is where I love my competition. I was telling you about this guy just a second ago, right? Here's what he said. You need to tell every inspector to put this in the report. And by the way, if I see this in your report, I am going to fire you, okay? Because you obviously didn't hear me say, don't do this. This is what the 95% out there kind of stuff are teaching you to do that you need to avoid to build the right kind of company. And his thing was, on every report, you need to put in there, recommend repairs are made prior to closing. Ouch! I got a big secret for you. See, some home inspectors think we work for this person and this person only, and we don't work for anybody else in the transaction, and they think we are God. We are not God, okay? We are there to help them make a buying decision. We are not there to tell them what to fix and what not to fix. That is not our job. But some inspectors think that that's exactly what we're there to do is, oh, you should fix this. Oh, this is not a problem. Oh, you should fix that. Oh, this is not a problem. They don't understand it's not our job. Now, I will tell you that part of the secrets is I try to teach my inspectors when they go, well, you've got about 20 items listed here. Which ones are the most important? I try to teach my inspectors to pick 2 and go, I think this is probably pretty important and this one's pretty important. And the rest of these, you just need to talk with your agent and see which ones you guys are more important to you. So we have an answer to it. Don't ever forget, the answer is always yes. How you answer it, though, can be very important.